Good morning, Rabboisai. Eli Nishmas Imi Mirasi Rusbas Mordechai. Sponsored by. Today's share is sponsored anonymously. L'schus Oogie Woogie Ben Shnugi. Is that how you say it? I don't even know how to say it. In honor of Eli, a man of means who will read almost any sponsorship to raise a few bucks for Torah learning. Well, listen, anything goes. By Yisroel Shalitzky. I think it was the Hebrew comes in interestingly. Sarah Bas Rabbi Yitzchak Yesha'ia, Oleh Shalom. I hope that's the name, something like that. Unless it's Yesha'ia Yitzchak, Yellin. And this one, I just printed it the way it came out. It's almost impossible to read. This is how I get it, Rabbi Yisai. Rezel Bas Reb Yish'ia Eliyo Oleh Shalom. Shvat. Sorry. By Larry Perlle. Should have a full shlema, but Korev Mamish, Lezech Nishmas, Ovi Mori, Reb. What's the pronunciation? Anybody remember? Bandit. Or Bindet. Reb Yitzchak. Perlle, not Pearl. In English it's Perle. All right, we got to run. Chaya Rezel, Bas Rebelio, but this is how I got it, you see? Chaya Rezel Bas Rebelio. It's backwards. Chaya Rezel Bas Rebelio. Hold on, Rabbi side, there's a mistake here. It's Shnugi Ben Woogie Oogie. Okay, fine. Now that makes a lot more sense. Fine. Whew. I was nervous there for a second. Yisroel Shalitzky says real quickly that his Bubby was saved from the ashes of Holocaust. Lost many children in the Shoah. Hashem Yim Kandamam. Came to America, were built. Val Tzedakah V'Chesed. That's where he gets it from. Zayda from Yeshua, who's close to the Tolner Rebbe, Boston. She should be a gute better for all of his Chai Yisrael. Also, family Mechuteniste. Listen, family Mechuteniste is a different sponsor. You can't just throw them in all at once. Okay, next time. She came from a family, Omlin Tzedakah V'Chesed. Yibal Chaim, her husband, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe, Neriyo. Should be gesund, all mishpacha. Okay. Real quickly, what do we got here? So the CEO is back on tour. The CEO Yellin, his chauffeur, Mr. Avi Sherman, take him to Kew Gardens to meet up with Mr. Benjamin Kessler at the Queen's Hatzalah garage, where we received the tour of a Spirit ambulance and garage. We then went across the street to 7-Eleven for Slurpees, for Yoel, Avi, and the kids. And then they continued to pizza and Kew Gardens. Good vach. Here it is. Back on tour with the Hatzalah. Look at this geschmacking guy, Benjamin Kessler. Mamish, the chesed continues. Good vach. This is, yesterday we had a record. We read 8 emails last night, short ones. My 3-month-old son has spent many nights learning with you to the point where he often just stares at the screen and he says, "Good morning." No, he doesn't. That's not this, different email. And smiles at you. Similar to your grandson, I think you were holding him and walked by, he would be happy to go to you. He doesn't say Eli yet. I frequently regale, is that how you say it? My family with the stories, and my 11-year-old daughter particularly enjoys them along with your good morning, Rabbi Yisai. She loves to joke about the time he began with a lackluster greeting before returning to the beginning to give us the enthusiastic greeting that we love. Wow. You know the code to my computer? I couldn't get into my computer. I was trying my password. All of a sudden it comes, it's on, it's great. Now I see everybody in Zoom. Gary knows my code, he got in. Great. Thanks for enhancing all of our lives. It's not about the daf, it's about the Yoni. You know what this is? Where's this guy from? Yoni Nagler from Staten Island, New York. Boys, we have some very geschmack dafim coming up. Very easy stuff. And here's from Avi Sherman, he says, listen, I just said some Tomchei Shabbos place when the CEO is on tour. You should know that it's Yoel Saba, Rabbi Yitzchak Katz was the founder back in the 70s. Today, he runs the Tomchei along with Yoel Safta, Mrs. Bergman's mother. Tomchei Shabbos Q sends food weekly to over 400 families in central Queens area and beyond. No one takes a salary, 95% of the funding comes from donations. Is this a solicitation? Anyway, that was all secondary to the line I caught about the 1-year-old grandson having corona. You didn't leave us details. He's doing fine, Baruch Hashem. Before Shleima, by the way, this guy Yosef, who screens your emails, needs a raise. He does an excellent job. Well, he let this guy slip through. I'm not so sure. Okay, fine. And goes above and beyond like you wouldn't believe. I suggest you start immediately with at least 25% raise. Then every month at least another 10%. Well, it's unbelievable. People are giving me advice how to spend my money. So you pay him 25% raise if he did such a great job. Yishkoyach Reb Avi. And here we go. We are holding, if you missed it, we're 10 lines down on Daf Samach Daled Amud Aleph. It's a pretty large daf with a lot of words. So that's why we got a little bit of a head start last night. Not that it helped us, it's already 7:23 here in Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara. It also happens to be my favorite day, Sunday, because all the guys from the tri-state area, New York, that is New York, New Jersey, that whole area, are on. I see Avram Meir Farkovich. Mordechai Zapaznik is on. First time I see you on Zoom, Reb Mordechai. Avrami Leibovitz is usually not on Zoom. Oh! Avi Kamiansky is on. Where are you, Avi? You're in Chicago. Gewaldig. Okay, gets it, the whole place full of New Yorkers. Mordechai Ashkenazi is good for that favor. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Af Atomid. We're talking about the very interesting halacha that if you shecht the carbon Pesach, Rabbi Yehuda says even the carbon Tamid, you over on this pasuk if you own chametz, which is Erev Yantif. If you own chametz, it's not even Yantif yet. You have chametz in possession. Lo tishchat al chametz dam zivchi. Coming up. My time at the Rabbi Yehuda. O malach zivchi zevach hamiyuchad li. What's miyuchad li? I don't know. I think it means like a oila, something special to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that goes directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the carbon tamid in the morning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, my zevach zivchi zevach hamiyuchad li. Umayniu tamid. So if you own the zivchi together with chametz, you're over on an issa d'oraisa. Rabbi Shimon Omer haPesach bar ba'asar. My time at the Rabbi Shimon, d'chsiv zivchi trei zimni. So Rabbi Shimon basically says that all karbanas are included in this, depending erev yantiv or on yantiv itself. Karbo zevach zivochai. What's going on here? I made a little chart for you. It's pretty poshut, but it wouldn't hurt to have a little chart today. There's supposed to be a line here, let's say. There's two psukim. Lo sishchat al chometz, but it says lo sishchat. Over here it says lo sizbach. But what's important is that it says it twice. Zivchi, zivchi. Says the Gemara, I take the yud from this zivchi and make the word into zevach. So now I have extra yud, and I put it over here. I have zevochai. All right? So one is one zevach, which is referring to the carbon Pesach. Zvochai is all the karbanos are included in the second pasuk of zivchi. Lamai hilchasa, says the Gemara, if that's the case, Lamai hilchasa palginu rachmana mehadadi v'leikasav zvochai. If you want to say this idea that all karbanos are included in the isser of leisishchat al chametz dam zivchi, I own any. I shecht any carbon, oila, chatas, whatever it is, and I own chametz erev Pesach, I'm chayev, depending on Pesach itself. When there's a carbon Pesach, when that's available, it's only the carbon Pesach. When the carbon Pesach is not available, so it's all karbanos. In other words, the middle of Yantif. But why did the Torah say two psukim? Says Gemara, very simple. You should just say zvochai once. Lemeimar bizman dik zevach. When there's a carbon Pesach, lo mechayv as zvochai. Then you're not chayev if I bring a oila, a shlamim, a taida, and I own chametz. But during Yantif, when there's no more carbon Pesach, zevach mechayev, as zevach mechayev as v'chai, then you're chayev on all the other karbanos. And Rabbi Shimon continues in the Mishnah. Ubemayed l'shmoi patur. If I shech the carbon Pesach on Yantif, I'm patur. Time it is shloi l'shmoi. When are you chayev? When it's not lishma, meaning I shechted the carbon Pesach for a shlamim, so now I shechted a real. So let's go back for a second. Reb Shimon is of the opinion throughout Kachim that a shchita she'ena ruya, a shchita that's not a good shchita. For instance, shechting a carbon Pesach on Pesach, it's too late already. The zman of carbon Pesach is erev Pesach. When you shecht it on Pesach, it doesn't count. If it doesn't count, it's not even a shchita. So if it's not a shchita, you're not over on this pasuk. It says in this pasuk, lo sishchat. It has to be a proper shchita that the carbon is a good carbon. But if I shech the Korban Pesach on Yontif, it's not a shchita. And if I own chametz, I'm not over because I didn't do a shchita. I did a ritzicha. I killed the animal. I didn't shech the animal. Says the Gemara, but if you just take a Korban Pesach without saying what it is, it was a Korban Pesach before Pesach, you didn't have a chance to shecht it, and now you shecht it on the second day of Chal HaMoed. What just happened? Hastama patur. Why? Amai Pesach b'shayim shana shlamim havi. Shouldn't it jump into the category of shlamim? We said the Korban Pesach flips into a shlamim. You could flip it yourself before Pesach. Chanukah time, you can say this Korban Pesach that I designated as a Korban Pesach should be a shlamim. It's fine. And after Pesach, what's the halacha? Now, there's a machlokes we're going to get to whether or not it turns into a Korban shlamim by itself, or you must say so straight out. L'chayra, from here you see that since the Mishnah says that by itself you are patur, shmas mino pesach b'shayim shana boyakira. You must say it yourself. You have to say, now I'm flipping into shlamim. And if you don't, it doesn't turn into shlamim. And therefore, if it didn't turn into shlamim, what is it? It remains a Korban Pesach. And if it remains a Korban Pesach, says the Mishnah, you just shechted a non-proper shechting of a Korban Pesach, and that's not a shechita. But you see from here, this l'chayrak, a proof from our Mishnah that you must say it with your mouth. And you must say, I'm changing this from a Pesach to a shlamim. Because our Mishnah says that if you don't say it, stam, you don't talk, it remains a Korban Pesach. That's a raya, one way. Omar Rebchia Bar Gamdom Nizr Kome Pichaburo V'Omru. They threw this out in yeshiva, and everybody agreed to it. What's going on here? You know why this Korban Pesach doesn't flip into a shlamim automatically? There's no raya. Maybe the guy was tamei, and if he was tamei, he has to bring it a month later on Pesach Sheni, and therefore it doesn't flip by itself. It knows when to flip and when not to flip. If he already brought a Korban Pesach who's yotzei, and he has a second spare Korban Pesach, it flips automatically into a shlamim. You're asking me from here, it's mashma, it doesn't flip? Because this is a different case. This case is a guy that's tamei, and the Torah knows not to flip into shlamim. He has to bring it in a month from now. It remains a Pesach because he's tamei. So this following Mishnah, the official Mishnah is sponsored by Eli Stefansky. L'kaved, l'chayra, I don't know for a fact, Shloimi Klein from Crown Heights, who will spend $100, l'kaved atayra, stam, to get me, to shtach me, to do anything. Shkoyach Shloimi. Ha-Pesach nishchat b'shalish kitois, shenemar v'shochatu oisoi. So we have a beautiful long Mishnah now with all, it's mamish a great sponsorship, the Kavod Shloimi. Look at one of the largest Mishnahs that we had in a while. You have a Korban Pesach. How did it work exactly? Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, that there were three groups of people. Every Erev Pesach, there was all of Klal Yisrael. We're going to see that there were 12 million people. 12 million. They were all three groups. You divide into three almost equal groups. Not really. They said the third group is smaller, but they were divided into three groups. Shenemar, v'shochatu oisoi. Let's see if I have this. Did I print it? Maybe. Oh, here we go. V'shochatu oisoi kol kahal adas Yisroel, kahal ve'ida v'Yisroel. 1, 2, 3. Nichnasa kasar yishoino. The first group walks in. Nismala hazara. The entire hazara fills in. So we'll show again. This is where they shechted the carbon. On this area right here, it says that the whole hazara filled in. Okay, so there's a bunch of people, but where do they do the shechita? Right over here. This area of the hazara. Nalu dalsois hazara. Then they locked. Huh? Who told you? Huh? Not so sure. Could be you're right. Leiby says they shechted everywhere. And I remember that they shechted only in the north part. I know the regular korban is only in the north. But okay, we'll have to look into it. So We're going to see in the Gemara there's machlokes whether the door is closed automatically through an ace or they had to push them shut. Think about it, 4 million people coming in and you have to shove them in there. There's enough room for everybody. It's not just 4 million, it's 4 million with 400,000 animals. It's a lot going on there. Taku, Heiriu, v'taku. They had trumpets, they did a tkiya and a trua and a tkiya. HaKoyhanim oimdim shurois ubideyem bozichi kesef ubezichi zahav. So, you have to do Zrikas Hadam. Zrikas Hadam, the way they did it was, they had bezichim, cone-shaped vessels. Some were made out of gold, some were made out of silver, and the kohen would catch the blood from the incision in the neck of the animal and pass it to the next kohen. And he would pass it to the next, and the guy all the way at the end, the kohen all the way at the end, by the Mizbeach, would pour the blood on the bottom of the Mizbeach, on the base of the Mizbeach. There's only two sides had a base. Those, we're going to go into it later. Now go into it, we'll show it in a second. All this took a very, very short amount of time. They were able to get rid of the 4 million Yisraelim with all their animals within a very short period of time. They had this chain going and everything worked beautiful. Shura, Shekula, Kesef. There was a line of Kohanim that they only held these bezichim made out of silver, Veshura, Shekula, Zav. They didn't mix. In one line, there was not a silver and gold, silver. It was all gold or all silver. They wouldn't mix it. These bezichim didn't have a base. It couldn't stand up straight. Why? We wanted the blood to be in constant motion, because if the kohen would forget, he would put it down on the floor, it would congeal, and you wouldn't be able to pour it on the mizbeach. So it was in a way that you couldn't put it down. You couldn't rest. Shochat Yisrael. Even a Yisrael could perform the shchita. All shchitas in the Beis Hamikdash can be performed by a Yisrael. However, the Kibbalah Kohen, but from Kabbalah on, Kabbalah, Hilacha, Zrika, all must be done by the Kohen. There's a chain, one gave to the other, Makabalas Hamalei, Umachzir Sarekon. The Kohen takes a full baziach of blood and passes it on to his friend that's next to him. And then he takes, yes. The what? Why? No, because Erev Pesach, because of the amount of the korbanos, we have bezichim. There's bezichim that had a bottom. Some bezichim had a bottom, some didn't. This particular, in Korban Pesach, I don't know what the other ones had. In Korban Pesach was a very specific thing that this couldn't have. I'm not sure that other korbanos had. I don't know. Korban Pesach for sure didn't have a shulayim. Because think about the amount of korbanos and the amount of blood that was going on over there. That for sure they couldn't stand. A regular korban, I don't know that was necessary. Could be, yeah. All of you, both of you, same algae. So, yeah. It's a Mishnah that what? Leiby's right, it's a Mishnah. Shchitosim b'chol mokem ba'azara. Where's this Mishnah? Oh, to those of us who say Karbanis. Nezim Mekayim. Shkoyach. What a, I thought you know, like Mishnayos and the whole thing. You do Ezim Mekayim. Shkoyach. Everybody does Ezim Mekayim, besides me. All right. You could do Shchita b'kol mokem. I don't know if they did. Who said they did? All right. Okay, so going back to what happened there, the kohen would go like this. He'd keep on going like this. It went very smoothly and very quickly. Plus, he would do a dance. He would be moving to the right, to the left. He would keep on moving. So he'd grab a full one, give it to the guy next to him, and then afterwards take the empty one and give it back. They had to keep on going back and forth, back and forth. But which one would he grab first? The full. Kohen HaKorban Mizbeach, the kohen that was closest to the Mizbeach, is Zarkai. Zrika achas keneged hayisoid. He would throw it Here's the side. This little step over here, which is only on the northwest side. So you have a step here, but not on this side, as you can see in this picture from the Art Scroll Heritage Foundation. This is the side, only on two sides. The northwest, southeast did not have a yesod, so all the blood went here. As the Mishnah says specifically, they used to throw it. They wouldn't just sprinkle, do with a finger or whatever, they threw it. And it's one zrika. Zrika achas, unlike other korbanos that had multiple zrikas on different sides, zrika achas k'nei yesod. Yotzasa kas rishono. The first kat, I don't know how many people were there. You have to divide Klal Yisrael. The Gemara later is going to say there's 12 million people. So minimum 12 million plus all the kohanim. I don't know how many kohanim. The first kat probably had more than the second and third kat. So at least 4 million people in there. 4 million exit. V'nichnas hakashni, a bunch of people come in. The second. Yasa shniya, nichnas hashlishis. You wait until everybody leaves, and then the third group comes in. Just like whatever they did with the first group, that's what they did with the second group and the third group. Karu is a halal. They were saying halal, not like a literature saying. They sang the halal. Now, Steven Sokolo, you know I missed you. You know, what kind of zach is that? Leave me. So you had a shtickle corona. You almost died. I understand. But just left me like this for weeks. Weeks I haven't seen you. Now the email garnished. Shalom Aleichem. How are you, Stephen? Baruch Reifei Chaylim. He was. Two of his nurses that were in their 40s died from his nursing home. And he got really, really sick. He was in the hospital. Baruch Hashem, he got out of it. The daf saved him. And he was sending us pictures. You don't remember? It was, I don't know, 2 months ago. Where was he? All right. How's the smell? You could smell? Okay. So I used to drive to Far Rockaway for Rosh Hashanah to be in Shar Yashiv. So I did it for 2 years. So when Reb Shmuel Brazil was there, I don't remember when it was, like Simchas Torah or one of those, like Chalamayit, probably I'm going to get 10 emails now. There's one or two, he used to daven halal, and the halal took 1 hour and 10 minutes, something like that. But it was a beautiful halal. The entire thing was singing, and imagine hundreds of guys singing together. It was beautiful. So that's what it was basically, because if you think about it, we're going to see in a second, how long does this whole thing take? Im Garmu Shanu, if they finished halal, they'll say it again. Vim Shanu Shilshu. And they would say it a third time. It never happened that one group of people were there for 3 halals. Now, if it's a halal that we say on Rosh Chodesh halal without any singing, the 4.5-minute version, it's hard to believe that they did 400,000 korbanos with the zrika, with everything, with the emurim, with ripping off the hide within 8 minutes, 2 halals. So it took a little bit of time, but it couldn't be too long because they had to fit in 3 groups. So it couldn't be 1 hour and 10 minutes. So somewhere in between over there. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Think about that, it's even called the atzlanim, the cat of lazy people. The people that came late to the Beis Hamikdash, so to speak. So there were not that many people in the third group. So Memela, there was not that many korbanos to do. So therefore their halal was even less. How much less? They never got to a hafti. That's how fast they were able to knock it out. Because there was less people in the third group. Whatever they did in the weekday, they did it on Shabbos. They would wash out this. The amount of blood is unimaginable. What they would do is, there was a stream of water in the Beis Hamikdash. They would plug the stream. The water would flood the Azara, and then they would unplug it, and it would wash away the blood. Chachamim didn't like the fact that they were doing it on Yontif, on Shabbos. We're going to have to see the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. We had this in Kachim a bunch of times, that Shidduch Rabbi Yehuda there was so much blood up to the knees, right? Wherever it was, there was a lot of blood. You take 1 cup, because Rabbi Yehuda, we're going to see in the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda held that all the blood, since it's liquid, it all touches each other, it's efsha, that's not all one. All you need to do is take 1 cup for all those korbanos that didn't have A zrika, you take 1 cup and toss it at the end on the mizbeach, and everybody's yaitz just in case the kohanim messed up. Zrika is zrika achas agabe mizbeach. V'lei haydei chachamim, chacham didn't agree to this. Keitzad toilimu mafshitin. How did you skin these animals? Kol misha ein loy sorry. Unkliyos shel barzel hayu kfuim b'ksolum ba'amudim. I couldn't. Unfortunately, I don't have the rights to print these pictures from these mishnayos. We're going to go back to Tamid, Masechtas Tamid. So I found one picture only, where you have hooks in the Azar. If you look over here, there's these squares. I don't know if you could see a bunch of squares over here. It shows 8 squares. These are square pieces of wood, and on the top of the squares, down here, and then you have this guy. Bunch of hooks right over here, and you hang the animal by a rear leg, and you fillet it. You hang it and you skin it. If there's no, look, 400,000 animals, how are you going to do it all? This is from Shabbos Daf Kuf Chav Daled. There were some sticks over there, poles. You put it from side to side, on shoulder to shoulder, and you do it like that. Doesn't seem like an easy task. I saw how the shaykhah, when we did the live demonstration here, it was very difficult to skin it. They were able to do it. They would put it from shoulder to shoulder, and then they hang it, and they're able to skin it. It says Rabbi Eliezer, there's a problem on Shabbos to touch that piece of wood. Says Rashi, because you don't want to prepare on Shabbos. But it's funny, not funny. Rashi in Shabbos says that the problem is muktzah. In fact, if you look in Siman Shin Ches, the Shulchan Aruch, the Sharet Tziyun brings this Mishnah to prove a very interesting halacha. We know that you're allowed to use a hammer to break open a coconut on Shabbos, provided that you don't have a coconut breaker, a special one. But you can't just use a hammer if you feel like it, because I need to open up, crack a hammer is kli shemalach l'isur. You could only use a kli shemalach l'isur when you don't have a kli shemalach l'heter. How do you know it? Says the Sharet Tziyun right here, this Mishnah. Not on this Rashi. And the Rashi, based on the other Rashi in Shabbos, that what? You cannot use this piece of wood that's a klisha melachta le'isr, because there's another way to do it. I could go like this to my friend, and I don't need to use the piece of wood. And Memela, you're not allowed to use on Shabbos a klisha melachta le'isr. We just turned to the Samach Daled Amud Beis, sponsored by Gedalia Fenster l'Refuah Shlema of Yerachmiel Daniel Ben Tova Basha. Should have Refuah Shlema b'Karoi. Still in the hospital. Karoi v'yitzias imurov. They ripped it open. They take out the parts that go on the mizbeach. We said like yesterday, the chaylev. We're going to see the kidney. And they will put it inside a bowl. And they throw all these emurim on the mizbeach. Now it's Shabbos. First group goes out. Can't go home. Can't carry the animal with them. So what do? They sit down. They take a nice little rest until Shabbos goes out. Then they carry their stuff home, and they have to roast the Korban Pesach. Leila Seder. The second group stays in the chel. Where's the chel? Look over here again. This has to be the most used. I bought this in the old city. There's a place there. Hi, Reb Aaron. Shalom. How you doing, Reb Aaron? Shalom. You can't talk, your kids are sleeping, I know. Fine. So all the way around here is called the chayil. There's an area behind the wall, between, there's right over here. So they would hang out in here, this whole area. This whole area, part of the area, great. Hold on, where's my thing? I lost it already. Did I have it the whole time? Maybe that's why. Oh, I have spears over here. Okay, where am I holding? Okay, Vashlishes bimkoimo imedes. Rabbi Kiva Eiger says beautiful. It says over here that the third The third group, oimedes, standing. Why? The second group was sitting. Why does the Mishnah say oimedes? You have to be medayik in every word. Nu, Rabbi Isai. Oimedes. What?
Doesn't say the second group is sitting.
Says Yashva. Sure. Vi Yashva lahar bayis. They were sitting. Says Vi Yashva and over here says oimedes. You know what the answer is? Because they're inside the Azara. You're not allowed to stand. You're not allowed to sit inside the Azara. Amazing diuk. Chasheicha. Once it got dark, Yotzu v'tzolus pischayim. Then everybody left and roasted their korban Pesach. Says the Gemara on Rabbi Yitzchak, Ein Pesach nishchat ela b'shalish kitas shloishim v'shloishim b'nei adam. Each group needs 30 people. My taima, kahal, ve'eda. Where was it? Okay, you saw the pasuk already. Kahal ve'eda, it says in the pasuk. Ve'Yisroel, the three lashonos in the pasuk. Here. Kahal, Adas, Yisroel. Each group is a group by itself, and each one is 30 people. Now, how do I know? And we don't know exactly. We know each group, Eda is 10. Doesn't mean that it's 10, 10, and 10, or each group is 30. Is each group 10 or each group 30? So each group, each group should have 30, so we don't mess up and rip off the Torah, so to speak. Torah says you should have 30 in a group. I'm not sure if it's 30 or 10. Let's do 30, 30, and 30. Either way, if each group has 30, we're going to be yaitza all shitas. If it's a total of 30, obviously 90 is more than 30. And if each group needs 30, each group has 30. Hilkoch. But at the end of the day, says the Gemara, you don't need to have 90 people. You can get away with 50 people if you really want to be like that. First, 30 people go in there and do what they need to do. They do their korban Pesach. Another 10 come in, so now you're up to 40. 10 leave. And the 10 that come in do their korban Pesach. The 20 that are there just to be part of the 30, and everything is good. You hear Gary? And at the end of the day, you have a total of only 50 people, and we're yaitza all shitas by having 30 at every given time. But you can't just have the same 30, make the karbanas all. You have to have new karbanas, so we throw in another 10 people each time, a total of 50. Abaya says that the doors locked by themselves. A certain amount of people went in, 4 million people went in, all of a sudden the doors start shutting like an automatic elevator. People stop going in, like the train in New York. I forgot, I heard it thousands of times, I forgot how to say it. You can't remove doors, whatever. You try to hold it, doesn't work. Fine. Yeah, guy's hand gets stuck, train keeps on moving. Either you pull him out or his hand stays in the thing. Doesn't stop. So, says the Gemara, no, you have to close the doors yourself. My benayu, what's the difference? What does that mean? If you look at Rashi, a little bit different what you would think. We know that you have to have 3 groups. Could be soymechan HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a nace that he's going to show you, he's going to divide the groups nicely, and there's going to be 30 per group. Or maybe we're going to mess up. So Rava says no, you have to start counting. Make sure that each group has 30. Don't be soymech on that nace to have 3 groups. Says the Gemara, however many fit in, it doesn't matter, and then you just keep on pushing them in. Let them go. Let them keep on going. Go until the door's shut. You have to close it. You decide how many go in, and then you close the doors. It says in Edius, I think. What happened? This is machlokes. If a saita who's a giyaris or a meshuchreres, whether or not she gets to drink the meisaita. So Akav Ma'ala says no, giyaris and meshuchreres doesn't. So they told him, but what are you talking about? We saw mefurish. Shmai Naftalion, they did so. So he said, that they gave water to the Giyaris. So he said, Dugmaya. They faked it. Now, Shmaya Avtalion were Gerim, so they didn't like what he said. Dugmaya, they were pretending that they gave it to drink, but it wasn't true. So, the shayla whether or not they put him in Cherim. Rabbi Yehuda says, Chas v'shalom, he was such a gadol, a kavim house, such a gadol, impossible to put him in Cherim. It's not. It's impossible that the Azara was locked to such a great gadol. So, Abayim mitaris t'tamei, V'rav mitaris t'tamei. Each one is going to have to say it in their own lashon. Abayim mitaris t'tamei, ein ba'azara b'shah sheninala. It happened by itself. I call it Yisroel b'chachma b'yiras chayt k'akavim mehal. It's impossible that the Azara is going to lock a nes on such a gadol. The nes won't happen on him. It won't lock him out. Rav mitaris t'tamei, and Rav who says that it didn't happen b'nes. Klal Yisrael closed the doors, so he's going to have to say a different lashon. Ein ba'azara b'shah shenoya linoisa. When they lock it, they didn't lock him out. I call Yisroel b'chachma b'yiras chayt k'akavim mehal. Tana Rabbana. Ma'ilom lo nismach odem ba'azara. The millions of people that were in the Azara doing the Korban Pesach, never happened that somebody got crushed. I'm not going to mention that Levayach. We know. We went through a situation like that a few years ago. A crush. Like in Lahavdil million Abdallahs in the stadium when they go crazy. Crushed. The Hajj? Ooh. Sorry, yeah. Did they crush over there?
Every year.
Every year in the Hajj.
Thousands of people get killed. Every year.
Thousands?
Yep. Hundreds?
Oh, you know when they got crushed? When the crane fell. Then they got a...
But every year.
But it's saying people crush themselves. Yeah. Okay. But there's a nace in the Beis Hamikdash, nobody ever got crushed. Especially the amounts of people that they had there in such a tight space. Chutz me Pesach echad sh'hoye b'mei Hillel. In the time of Hillel HaZaken, there was one Pesach, shenismach b'y zaken echad. One older guy got crushed. V'yikoyer doisoi Pesach meuchen. It was the crushed Pesach. Torah Rabbanan. Pamachas bikish agrifas hamelech litin eno b'chlusa Yisrael. They wanted to do a count. What is it called? Census. Omar leila kohen gadol tein einecho b'psachim. I need you to figure out how many people brought psachim. Which I'm now thinking is hard to understand. If there's groups of people per Pesach, so what did he gain from it? Okay. Whatever reason, he was able to figure something out from it. Not akul yom kol echad. The kohen gadol takes a kidney, one kidney from each carbon. V'nimtzu sham shishim riboy zuge kloyes. This is the amount of people that came out of Mitzrayim. Shishim riboy, 600,000 times 2, because it was zug, 1.2 million kidneys. So there's 1.2 million animals. In other words, yeah, minimum 400,000 per group maybe. Kiflayim ki yotzim Mitzrayim. Chutz mitamei sh'haya b'derech l'chayga. There were many people that were tamei, couldn't come to Beis Hamikdash. People that lived in Galus, that were too far away, they were out in business. The ones that had to do Pesach Sheni. Ve'in l'chakol Pesach, Pesach, and every carbon, sh'leinimnu olav yotzim asar b'nei Adam. You had to have there was at least 10 people per carbon. So 10 times 1.2 million, 12 million people. Pesach Mubin. Beis. It was a thick Pesach. Many people. Asked the Gemara, Notakulya, how did he take a kidney, Habayak Tura? That's part of the Emurim they have to throw on the Mizbeach. The Hadam Aktilu. After he's done counting, he had 1.2 million kidneys. Then he took them all and put it on his Mizbeach. Vokse Vikti Roy. Singular. Each kidney was by itself, independent. Vikti Roy. The Hadam Aktilu Chada Chada. Okay, he had a pile of 1.2 million kidneys. He went like this. Unbelievable. Votanya Viktiram. You have to be makdir together with its fats, together with anything else that's the imurim that goes on the mizbeach. Elo tfisa ba'alma. What happened was the kohen gadol lifted it up. He went like this. Then there was a guy standing on the side that saw the lift. He said, "Okay, there's a kidney." He put a stone down. He put a pebble down until he had 1.2 million pebbles. But he never let go of this kidney and put it in a pile. Yes, he lifted it up, put it back in the pile with the fats. They were makdir everything on the mizbeach. Until he was able to replace it with a pebble. Kohanim oimdim shuros. My taima. Why were the Kohanim standing in perfect lines of gold and a line of silver? Why can't they mix it up? Says the Gemara, what's the concern? That I'm holding a golden vessel, and I'm going like this. And I'm going to give my friend the gold, and I'm going to grab from my other friend silver. What's the problem? You can't go downwards. If you're holding gold, you have to take gold. You can't go down. Says the Gemara, what did you gain? I shouldn't have left. Not all the golden kalim were the same weight. Some of them weighed 200, some of them, Lamashal, weighed 100. So if I give my friend a 200 gram, whatever it is, gold, and I grab 100, I just went down, and who cares if it's the same material, I just went down. Malam b'kodesh v'lo meridin, I went down. We're not concerned gold, silver, in terms of malam v'lo meridin, where we wanted it to look beautiful. And when you look at the line, you see gold, it looks beautiful, it looks like one whole thing of gold, one whole thing of silver, it's beautiful. Huh? It was Hungarian. You know who's in charge of the Beis Hamikdash, by the way? You remember who's in charge of the Beis Hamikdash? Which one of the guys in the Chabur is in charge of the Beis Hamikdash? No, Mendy. Mendy's in charge. And his Beis Hamikdash has different machines, different stuff. When the Beis Hamikdash is going to be in charge. You forgot. It was only 3 years ago. Taner Rabbanan. These bezichim did not have a way to set it down. So here the Gemara says all the bezichim, like Noam said, all the bezichim in the Beis Hamikdash didn't have a bottom. Besides shalachem upon him. That it looked nice because of the gold. Okay, whatever. Fine. Next, we're running out of time. We don't have time for Chazorah now. So, the beziach that it contained, I forgot to bring it, the frankincense, but we had it yesterday, the frankincense, the levaina, that goes in the beziach, that goes on top of the lechem upon him, did have a bottom. Why? If you put the beziach that doesn't have a bottom next to it, it's going to lean on it, and it's going to break the bread, and it's very easy to break the lechem upon him because they were very fragile, they had a fold in it, fragile. So it says that the Yisroel did the shechita. Ask the Gemara, Loisagi de lav Yisroel. It seems from the Mishnah that a Yisroel has to do the shechita. Why can't it be also Yisroel? Says the Gemara, Higufa kabashmon. The shechita bezor kshera. You're right. Of course a kohen can do the shechita. It's just telling us that Yisroel could also do the shechita. But from that point on, to receive the blood, to bring the blood, to sprinkle the blood is all a mitzvah, and the kohen and Yisroel cannot do it. Well, the Kohanim were standing still, and they were just moving their hands. So you see that you don't have to walk, you just have to move the blood towards the Mizbeach, and that's okay. Says the Gemara, who told you? Dilmahu Nayid Purta. Maybe he did walk, he took a little step. So it was a whole dance, he's going like this. And he moved. So what's the Chiddush? Why would the Mishnah talk about it? Just to finish off, last week my son brought friends from yeshiva, and as I do, I'm very gracious to my guest, and I said, who here wants to make kiddush? Hoping that nobody will raise his hand. One clown goes like this. I said, get out of here! What do you mean you want to make your own kiddush? What's wrong with you? Halacha says, one, the balabais, he's not, I'm chassidish. I'm not really, my parents are not. I want to do my own kiddush, and he insisted, and I let him do kiddush. I was misgaber myself. The cave. Allah, I don't know. No, they have the minhag. By Hasidim, you do your own kiddush. Shema Yisrael. That's this. But B'Rav Amad Rismelech, the idea of many people should be there and give cover to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Have a wonderful day. We'll stop here. Continue on tomorrow. Shira Malois. Shira Malois. Mimama Kim Kursicha Adinoi. לא ישמע בקרדיט, יש לו גישורי סתגלות ממעל. ראה שמוניה, דינם מהמועד. תמחה, סליחה, למען תברך. כביסה דינם כבסן להמשיך וחולתי. נשאלה דברים שמונה ברגע שמונה בויתם. ובדי ישרוד מכוון יסוב, ואחיינו כל בייס ישראל, הנשאונים בצור ושיבי העולים, בין ביום ובין ביבש, עמוקים מרחם להם, ויצאים ונצור לבוכו, מפעיל אלוהי ומשול לגבולה. שתו! והגדול בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua, you need to go to sleep. You need to go to sleep. It's dangerous. The things that come out of your mouth when you're tired. Hashem Yirachem. Dangerous. Shluf. It's my joke. It's my joke. It's my humor. It's my warped sense of humor. Because I try. It's mamish. It's Gnevas Das. I want everybody to think that I'm asking. Oh, I forgot to say, my son-in-law, the first week that my son says, I make it, get out of here. What kind of son-in-law are you? And Lamaisa, now he's asking him not to do Kiddush, even though he has the minhag that everybody makes Kiddush. It hurts him. That might be the reason why he hasn't been to my house in 6 weeks. I didn't hear him. Yeah. Who? Avi Levinson? Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Avi Levinson. Shalom Aleichem. I don't see him though. Whoa, what's your deal, Stephen? Tell me a little bit. What happened over there? How long did it take you to get out of it?
A while. Even after the hospital, the breathing was messing with your lungs. Thank God.
Are you completely recovered or are you still weak?
Little weak, but overall, back to work and back to shul and thank God.
So, yeah.
Levinson, you gotta turn on your camera, otherwise we can't see who you are.
Oh, I see Avi Levinson. I see. So, Stephen, did you lose anybody else in that nursing home besides those two nurses?
Yeah, we ended up losing over 20 residents.
Why?
It was really, it was crazy. It was, it was bad.
Wow. So,
I lost 25 pounds.
You gained it back.
25 back on after I was listening to the intermittent fasting. I'm going to try it at 18 and 6. Wow.
Listen, you can't eat like a chazer when you come off the fast. That's the thing. But drink a lot of water. You drink a lot of water. I forgot to mention the water thing. And you're allowed to drink coffee without sugar and milk. And listen, for me it worked. I have to keep on going. I still have weight to lose. And I want to see what my numbers are like. That's right, new recruit. Yeshua, not only do you say shtusim after you're up the whole night, you also like, you don't even recognize people, you don't see well, everything is closing down on you, everything. You without sleep. I really hope to do. I saw you come in today. I turned on the cameras and I saw 6:24. This tzaddik showing up for Shachar, 6:24 in the morning. Kol hakavod to you guys. Harry, Zygazon Harry. I know you can't talk. I love you, man. When are you going to put up a ceiling, the 8-minute daf ceiling in your house? Money. You're a kablan. You're a contractor. All of a sudden it's money. You're worried about. You could do it for a fraction of the price. Don't talk. I don't want you to wake up your family.
No, Shlomi Klein was sponsored. You have a picture of the Rebbe.
He can't talk.